In a quiet town beside a wide river lived a 33-year-old man named Aiden. He was clever, capable, and full of ideas. Every few days, a new plan would rise in his mind and make his future feel close enough to touch. One week, he wanted to open a furniture shop. Another week, he spoke about trading grain between towns. Then it was tool repair, then handmade shelves for village homes. He could describe each idea with such energy that people almost believed it had already begun. But there was one sentence Aiden used so often that it had become part of his life. "I'll start tomorrow." And tomorrow, he told himself, he would rent a small space. Tomorrow, he would buy the wood. Tomorrow, he would speak to the blacksmith, the trader, or the farmer who might help him get started. Tomorrow, he would finally move. But when tomorrow came, it never felt like the right day. He was too tired. The weather was poor. He needed more time to think. Another idea seemed stronger. Another plan looked safer. And so tomorrow quietly became next week, then next month, then another year. Aiden was not lazy. That was the painful part. He loved the thought of building something real. He simply loved thinking about it more than beginning it. For a long time, that habit did not seem dangerous. Aiden was still young. He was still healthy. He could still look in the mirror and tell himself he had time. But time was moving, even when he was not. The boys he had grown up with were no longer boys. One had opened a bakery and now supplied half the town. Another repaired watches and had more work than he could finish. Another, who once had less skill than Aiden, now ran a busy cart business along the trade road. Aiden smiled when he saw them. He spoke kindly. He congratulated them. But each success he saw in others pressed against the emptiness in his own life. He had ideas. They had results. Then the money began to grow tight. Small jobs became less regular. Some weeks, Aiden had just enough to get by. Other weeks, he counted coins before buying bread. He began stretching meals, putting off payments, and pretending not to worry, when in truth, worry had already begun living with him. His room told the story before he did. Old notebooks, rough sketches, lists of business ideas, half-made plans, tools bought for work that never started. Every shelf held proof of intention. None of it held proof of action. One cold evening, Aiden sat alone at his table with the last few coins he had left. A rent bill lay beside them. So did a note from a man he still owed for timber. For the first time, he could no longer hide behind possibility. His future had arrived, and it was asking him a hard question. What, after all these years, had he actually built? That night, Aiden did not comfort himself with another dream. He did not make a fresh plan or imagine a better season ahead. He just sat there in silence, staring at the table, feeling the full weight of his own delay. He realized something that cut deeper than failure ever could. He had not lost years because life had been cruel to him. He had lost years because he had kept handing them to tomorrow. That truth stayed with him into the next morning. Later that day, after asking around, Aiden heard about an old man named Thomas who lived in a village near the hills. People said he had once been a respected counselor in the city. Men and women used to travel long distances just to speak with him when their lives had become tangled. Aiden had heard stories like that before and ignored them. This time, he did not. He packed a small bag and left the following morning. After a day and a half of travel, Aiden arrived at a peaceful village lined with stone homes and tall trees. At the edge of it stood a simple house with a worn path leading to the front step. Sitting there was an elderly man with steady eyes and a calm face, as if he had spent a lifetime learning not to rush the truth. His name was Thomas. Thomas welcomed Aiden without ceremony. He offered him a seat, poured him tea, and waited. There was something in the old man's silence that made pretending feel impossible. So Aiden told the truth. He spoke of all his ideas: the furniture shop, the grain trade, the repairs, the plans that filled his head and never reached his hands. He spoke of the years he had spent saying he would begin tomorrow. He spoke of the money he did not have, the shame he now carried, and the growing fear that he had wasted too much of his life already. When he finished, Thomas remained quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "Tell me honestly, Aiden, have you truly failed many times? Or have you simply refused to begin?" The question landed like a stone in still water. Aiden wanted to defend himself. He wanted to say life had been uncertain, that money had been tight, that timing had often been poor. But none of those words could stand in front of the truth. Deep down, he knew it was not failure that had shaped his life. It was delay. Thomas leaned forward and said, "A man can lose many years by worshiping tomorrow. Tomorrow feels safe because it asks nothing from him today." Aiden said nothing. Thomas continued, "You do not need another idea. You need one honest beginning." Thomas looked at him with calm certainty. "You have been treating action as if it should come after confidence," he said. "But confidence usually comes after action. You have been waiting to feel ready, but readiness is often built by beginning before you feel ready." He lifted his cup, then set it down again. "A dream that only lives in tomorrow slowly dies there," he said. "Choose one thing, not the most exciting thing, not the newest thing, the thing you can truly do. Then stay with it when the excitement fades. That is the part that changes a life." Those words were simple, but they did not need to be complicated. They were true. For the first time in years, Aiden felt as though someone had opened a window inside him. He saw his life clearly. His problem had never been a lack of talent. It had never been a lack of ideas. It had been his refusal to step into the hard, ordinary work that turns an idea into something real. That evening, he thanked Thomas and began the journey home. The road back felt different. Aiden did not spend it dreaming about 10 new futures. He spent it asking himself one honest question. Out of everything he had imagined over the years, what was he actually good at? The answer came to him more than once, and each time it felt stronger. Woodwork. Since he was young, Aiden had always been good with his hands. He understood timber, shape, and balance. When stools broke, neighbors often asked him to fix them. When a chest needed repairing, or a table needed steadying, people came to him because he had skill, even if he had never fully trusted it. By the time he reached home, his decision was made. He would stop chasing ideas that sounded impressive. He would build something from the thing he could already do well. A small furniture and repair workshop. Not tomorrow. Now. That same day, Aiden cleaned the back room of his home. He cleared away the dust, sorted his tools, stacked the timber he had left, and made a list of the first pieces he could build. There was nothing dramatic about it. No cheering crowd, no perfect feeling, just a man finally moving. The work humbled him immediately. His first stool came out uneven. A table leg cracked and had to be remade. A set of shelves took longer than expected, and some evenings he ended the day tired, sore, and unsure whether any of it would truly change his life. The old voice returned more than once. It told him to leave this and find a better idea. It told him he had started too late. It told him something easier might make money faster. But now Aiden could recognize that voice for what it was. Not wisdom, not caution, escape. So he stayed. He repaired a broken chair for a neighbor. Then he built a small table for a widow across town. A farmer paid him to strengthen an old storage chest. The money was not much, but it was real. And for the first time in years, it came from something Aiden had actually started instead of imagined. Day by day, the work became steadier. He rose earlier. He wasted less time. He stopped speaking so much about what he might do one day and focused instead on what still needed to be done before nightfall. His hands grew more confident. His eye grew sharper. His mind, once scattered across 10 futures, began learning the quiet strength of one path. Then something even more valuable than money began to appear. Trust. People noticed that Aiden's work was careful. His prices were fair. More importantly, he did what he said he would do. One customer sent another. Then another did the same. Slowly, the room that had once held dust, delay, and unfinished plans began to sound like a real workshop. Wood on the bench, tools in motion, work being completed. Months passed. Aiden did not become rich overnight. There was no dramatic turning point where everything suddenly became easy. But life was changing in a way that felt deeper than excitement ever had. He was paying what he owed. He was buying food without counting every coin twice. He was sleeping better. He was no longer afraid to look at the future because he was finally doing something that gave the future shape. By the end of the year, people from nearby villages had begun coming to him for stools, benches, repairs, shelves, and storage chests. His name was traveling further than his ideas ever had. And the strange thing was this: success did not feel like a rush. It felt like peace. Because for the first time in his life, Aiden was no longer a man of almost. He was no longer living in plans, explanations, and tomorrows. He had become a man who chose one thing, stayed with it through the slow middle, and watched it become real. Aiden still had ideas. That part of him never disappeared, but now he understood something he had spent years refusing to learn. Ideas are only seeds. If they are never planted, watered, and protected through hard weather, they remain nothing more than thoughts. His life changed the moment he stopped asking, "What else could I do?" and started asking, "What can I build if I stay?" That was the lesson Thomas had given him. Not a secret, not a trick, just a truth most people learn too late. A better life does not begin when you find the perfect idea. It begins when you stop feeding tomorrow and start using today. If you recognize yourself in Aiden, then maybe this story is not really about him. Maybe you also have plans waiting for the right season. Maybe you have been telling yourself that you will begin when you feel more ready, more confident, more certain. Maybe your problem is not that you cannot do it. Maybe your problem is that you keep handing your life to tomorrow. You do not need 10 new ideas. You need one honest beginning. Choose the thing you can truly do. Begin before it feels perfect. Stay when it becomes difficult. Stay when it becomes ordinary. Stay long enough for something real to grow. Because the years do not disappear all at once. They disappear one tomorrow at a time. And one day, if you are brave enough to begin, they can start coming back the same way.